Welcome back, race fans, to another episode of Buckle Up and Ultra Running Conversation. How are you doing, Mandy?
I'm doing well, Brian. I'm currently a little distracted because I'm scrolling through a website looking at my next book purchase,
Mm,
audiobook to get me through my long run this weekend, and I found one that's kind of spicy and I'm excited
what
about.
what website are you on?
drjasonkarp.com. Karp is Karp. And if you're
Dr. Jason
watching,
Karp.
you'll notice I'm like blushing a little bit. And I want everyone to go and look at this website and pick which book you think we should read on our long run.
Ooh, there are 16 books on that website, and I think I know which one it might be.
Uh, Dr. Jason Karp. He was an awesome guest. I'm excited to share that with everybody.
Yes, we're getting right to it. Dr. Jason Karp is our guest today. I met him a couple years ago. He presented at the Colorado High School Track and Field Association's annual meeting. He said he did it a couple times, and I only met him once. I want to say it was 22 or 23, 2022 or 2023. I attended the conference. He is a long distance coach, which you'll hear all about in the episode. And he presented on long distance running and some of the adaptations that we're looking for from our high school students from track and field and cross country. And so it was a great little side seminar for me to attend outside of the bigger conference of track and field in general. So I sat through the distance conference portion of it, and it was great. He was really engaging. You could hear it in this episode as well. He's really engaging. He really brought a 90-minute presentation to life and kind of kept us, at least me, engaged. I can't speak for the rest of the audience, but I felt like it was an engaging presentation.
Yeah, he really cares a lot about what he does, deep passion for it. I think that the root of all of it, he's got an interest and is curious about everything human anatomy and training, and his story. He'll tell kind of how he got into the place that he's at. But what I appreciated is it seems like he's always trying to apply what he's learning and, most importantly, really share with others. So we hinted a little bit on the book piece of it, but he's been published in a lot of different things and has some really cool, powerful experiences coaching worldwide, really. And the AI thing is pretty exciting. I was really intrigued with that part of the conversation, and I went for my run this morning. And like now that I'm thinking about it, there were parts of my run this morning where I was like, I kind of wish Brian was in my ear right now to know that I'm now in my fourth tempo section, but I am running straight into the headwind. Like when you're in those workouts, like we always talk about how wind is going to impact your speed, or if you're going uphill or whatever, all those things. But like, how cool would it be if your coach was literally in your ear and able to kind of be there with you on your run, but from afar?
Yeah, I think at the end of the episode, you kind of hit the nail on the head with the ideas of how a coaching business like I own myself can use this and impact athletes and kind of like incorporate it into my training programs and what I offer athletes as well. So the app that he created is RunKasi.com, and it has an AI component coach and then also a real time coach where your coach, whoever your coach might be, if you're listening, can use it to coach you on your run. Yeah, so I think it's a win-win-win across the boards. It seems like it's a great idea, great concept. He still has a little growth to go still, getting into the Android and Garmin space. But he's rolled it out. It's up and live, and it's running, and it's free, I believe. The Apple platforms, the Apple Watch and the iPhone App Store. So go check that out as well. And yeah, you'll hear he's all over the place in the sport, but in all the right places and doing all the right things, giving back to his community that he loves and that we love as well. So great episode, great conversation.
Yeah, I appreciated, I didn't realize it before this episode, but the work and the research he's put into women, female runners and the anatomy, which is always important. It has always been important in our space. But I think as women continue to step up to more start lines and stepping up onto more podiums, I think it's important that we continue to celebrate the research, the hard work that goes into figuring out the differences between the male and female anatomy and what that means to running. So I'm as a woman, as a mom who's been through all stages of running through childbirth and even just, he talks about menstrual cycle and how that impacts. I think it's continued education that is important, not just for coaches to pay attention to, but for female runners as well. So I think checking out his website and his articles is a cool research or cool just resource page for us to visit.
Yeah, he seems to be at the tip of the spear on a lot of topics, and I think that was one. He said he started in 2015 women's specific sport research in endurance sports. And now it's coming to the forefront, which is 10 years later, 10 plus years later. And now he's kicking off this AI thing. And he's also at the tip of the spear with this. So he seems to be driving the tip of this technology advances in AI and what it's capable of doing and applying it to what he is passionate about, which is running. So, yeah, it's a great episode. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to listen in, and we'll catch up to you guys soon. Take care. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Dr. Jason Karp. We appreciate your time and taking some time out of your day to join us on the show. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in San Diego, California.
Gosh, we were just talking offline how that's like the perfect weather. No one ever says, we're having a bad
Yeah,
day here.
yeah, yeah, year round. I think we have the best climate of anywhere in the country.
I'll head that way. We're in windy Colorado. It seems like that's our new thing. It's like summertime here, but annoyingly windy. So the beach sounds kind of lovely
Mm,
and some sunshine without this
yeah,
tease of winter we got going on here.
Jason, we want to talk a little bit about your newest creation, but we kind of want to back up a bit and talk about how you got here. Talk a little bit about your history with sport and what you do currently in the space of running.
sure. Well, for me, it kind of goes back a long time. I played a lot of sports when I was a kid, and I instantly became interested in the science of athletic performance. And so baseball was actually my first love. I was a big New York Yankees fan and played a lot of baseball when I was a kid. And I became very interested in the sport and the biomechanics of it and how a baseball pitcher throws a curveball. I think that's a beautiful representation of science applied to sport. It's
Mm.
just the art and science of being able to throw a curveball is beautiful. I mean, I still love to watch a baseball pitcher do what they do, and it's just great application of science, how to get the ball to move that way and the right timing of when the ball curves away from the batter to confuse the batter. And so these are questions I had even back when I was 11 years old. And I started reading about sports science back then. And so that curiosity just placed me on a path that I never left. So all these years later, I'm still pursuing it. Now it's taken the form of running. And once I started running track in middle school, I started focusing more on that sport and the science behind it. And so my story is kind of a simple one that I was through this passion and curiosity that I had, it placed me on a lifelong path. And so I wanted to take this as far as I could take it. So, I mean, even in high school, I knew I wanted to pursue a PhD. I was very particular about the schools I attended. I wanted to study under the best so that I could learn from the best. And I knew that coaching was going to be at the center of it all, but I also have a very entrepreneurial spirit and like to have a lot of ideas for things I want to do. And so coaching has always been at the center of everything else I've done, but I've had the opportunity to create the life that I want and be able to do the work that I want to do, which I'm very grateful for. And it all goes back to when I was 11 years old and had these questions about science and how it applies to athletic performance.
You talked a bit about your trajectory with the curiosity for sport, but you also are a participant, right? I mean, you're a pretty dang fast
Oh,
marathoner, if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken. You've always participated, or at least as far as I can tell, you've participated for quite a long time in road running and in the
Yeah, I've been
marathon
running six
distance,
days
correct?
a week. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I've actually the shorter races are what I'm much better at. So I've been running 6 days a week for 41 years now. And so, yeah, it's been a big part of who I am and my life and my outlook on life. And so I still train and still race. I still do hard interval workouts on the track. I did one on Tuesday and I still race as much as I can, but I tend to stick to 5K and even shorter. Living in San Diego, there's a great opportunity for track meets around here. There's a lot of open
Mm.
track meets that anybody can do. All ages can do it. And so, and then, the U.S. has a great masters track and field system. There's a lot of masters track and field races. And and I'm a little older than I look, and so I get the opportunity to race masters now, and yeah, it's been great. I mean, I hope to be running for the rest of my life, and I don't think I would be able to do all the work I do without also being a participant in this for the rest of my life. That it would be hard to do one without the other. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I've never really had any running injuries, and I've been able to be consistent with running for all these years.
So, Jason, when did coaching become a part of this? So it sounds like you were a participant, athletic, intrigued by the science piece of it. When did you start actually kind of applying that in the coach role?
Yeah, I started when I was 24. So I took a little bit of time off between my master's and PhD. And the first real job I had was a head college coach at a small school in New Jersey. It was an all women's school. So I was coaching the women's cross country team. And so that was my first kind of official position in the industry as a coach. So that was great. And it was that job that really started this interest I have in women's physiology and what that means for training. And so I've written a couple of books about running for women and training around the menstrual cycle. And so it was probably that job coaching this all women's college cross country team that got me interested in the subject from a women's perspective. And a lot of people think it's weird that a guy has such an interest in women's physiology, but as I tell people, there's a lot of gynecologists who are male, and so there's actually quite a lot of men who know a lot about women's physiology, and most of the researchers, most of the scientists are male as well, and so I just picked it up from the coaching perspective: is how do I apply the menstrual cycle to the training and be able to optimize a female runner's training, understanding the ramifications of estrogen and progesterone and what kind of physiological influences both those hormones have, and what that all means for designing a training program and implementing a training program.
That's really coming of age in our space currently. It sounds like we were either at the tip of the spear or even before the time of us looking at women and men differently in sport. It's really coming full circle here in the ultra running world, as in also obviously in the track and in the road world as well.
Oh yeah, women's sports are on fire right now. There's so much attention on women's sports, and it's great. I mean, it's long overdue. I mean, for a long time, women were not given the same opportunities that men were given. And so, yeah, it's great to see all the attention on women's sports. And yeah, so I've always enjoyed coaching for a variety of reasons, but mostly because of the challenge of the training. Like a man's training program can be a lot more static, whereas a woman's training program needs to be much more open to change and understanding the ramifications of the menstrual cycle. And so, yeah, I find that all very fascinating. So there's a lot more research being done now in this area by scientists all over the world that are studying women's physiology and what that means for athletics. So it's great. It's great that there's a lot of attention on this right now.
You mentioned that first all women's cross country team as the start of your coaching career, but you haven't really touched on where coaching has taken you. I know I follow you on social media. We met a couple of years ago, but I know it's taken you all over the world. So why don't you talk a little bit about how that evolved and where you're at
Yeah,
currently with coaching?
yeah. So back in 2015, I created a run coaching certification course. I'll backtrack a little bit. So after that coaching job, then I moved to a different state. I coached high school, and so over the years I've dabbled in college coaching, high school coaching. Then I went back to school, and then in 2015 I created my own run coaching certification because I wasn't happy with what was on the market already. There were very few coaching certifications, and most coaches don't have a formal college education in the subject. So there's really a need for a lot more education. USA Track and Field, the national governing body of the sport, they have their own certification, but that's more for track coaches. It's not for the masses of runners. And online coaching is extremely popular now. So there's a lot of freelance running coaches, and so they don't really have much place to turn to. So I created this coaching certification. I had the opportunity to teach the course. I offered it as a home study course and as a live in-person course, and I had the opportunity to teach the course all over the U.S. and even all over the world. It was great. And then I sold that business During the pandemic in 2022, the tail end of 2022, I sold that to International Sports Sciences Association, which offers a suite of courses on all different subjects of the fitness industry. So I was happy to be able to sell that to them, and now they sell it on their platform. But also in 2021, I moved to Kenya. So yeah, I'm a little bit, some people may look at me as a little crazy, but it really goes back to when I was a kid and this deep interest in wanting to take this subject matter to the extreme of education, the extreme of experiences. And so in 2021 I moved to Kenya because I wanted to coach there. I had gone to a camp there myself just as a runner in 2019, and the camp was in the epicenter of Kenyan distance running. It's a small rural town called Iten. And when I was there and I saw what went on, I thought, well, this would be a great place to move to and coach. And so that's what planted the seed in my head. And then I had to wait until the tail end of the pandemic because everything was shut down there too, as well as in the U.S. And they all train in groups there. So that was all shut down during the pandemic. And then around Thanksgiving time in November of 2021, I decided I'm just going to move there. The benefits of being single without a job, I could just do whatever I want. So I figured I'm just going to go and move to Kenya. And I had no plan, really. I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I just went there with the interest in forming a group and coaching. And so I was able to do it. It was actually very easy to form a group there. But it was amazing. I mean, they do things very differently there than in the U.S. And, they all live in extreme poverty. They don't have electricity at home. They don't have a lot of food to eat. And I was there over Christmas time, and they didn't know who Santa Claus was. So I told them who Santa Claus was, and I said, okay, I'm going to be your Santa Claus. And I took them there's a small running shoe store in the town, which the locals don't shop there. They don't have the money, but there's a lot of international runners that will come for a period of time to train with the Kenyans, and they buy their shoes there. And so I took them to this running shoe store, and I bought them all a new pair of shoes. It was the first time in their life they had worn a new pair of running shoes. I couldn't believe them. These are adults. And, we take for granted a lot of things that we have in the U.S. And, so they tend to train and race in hand-me-down shoes that are given to them by people who, have nothing else to do with their shoes but throw them away. So they bring them over to Kenya when they go over there, and they give it to them. And so, yeah, it's amazing what they can accomplish over there with so little food, not having the normal amenities that we have in the U.S. And so it was great to coach there. I mean, I would love to go back in a heartbeat. I'm trying to find a sponsor. I would love to put together a dual USA Kenya group with a few athletes here and a few athletes there, and then go back and forth and take the US athletes with me over there. So I've been trying to find a sponsor to put together that, because I think that would be a phenomenal, unique, elite professional group that hasn't been done before, to be able to blend the two styles of training, the American way and the Kenyan way. I think that could be broadcast all over the world, and there's a lot of lessons that could come out of that for the greater running community.
Yeah, Jason, I was just going to ask, I bet going into that, I'm sure you didn't know exactly what to expect, but I would imagine there was a lot of knowledge being transferred to these athletes you were coaching, but I bet you learned a lot from them too. What are some of your biggest takeaways or things that surprised you out of that experience that you learned from them?
Yeah, very, very much. So yeah, I went there with the intention of me being able to teach them, because they don't have any scientific training over there. They're very naive to all the science. And then I wanted to learn from them. And so I ended up writing a book about the whole experience. It's called Coaching the Kenyans. And I talk about all the lessons. Each chapter is titled with a Swahili word, and there's a lesson behind it all. And so one of the things I learned from them is, well, first of all, they have this deep desire. For them, running is not recreational like it is in the U.S. For them, it's their only way out of poverty, or at least their only perceived way out of poverty. And so that's what's lacking in the U.S. So if a U.S. athlete doesn't win a race, it's no big deal, right? They go home, they still have a meal on the table, they take a nice warm shower at home. And for the Kenyans, and this is their way out. I mean, they have to be good at this. Otherwise, they're looking at living the rest of their lives in poverty. And that's not something that really can be replicated in the US. So they have a deep desire to be good at this. They wonder why white people run. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. I was running one day with one of the athletes in my group, And they have a slang word for white people, Mzungu. So when you hear that word Mzungu, you know that they're referring to a white person. And I was only one of the very few white people in the town. And I'm running with one of the athletes in my group one day, and off the side of the road, I hear somebody yell something at me, and the only word I picked up was Mzungu. So I knew he was referring to me. So I asked the athlete I was running with, what did he say? And he said, he translated to me that he said that, why are you running? You're white. And I asked the guy I was running with, what did he mean by that? And what he meant by that, of course, was that, they perceive that white people have no reason to run, that you have all the things you could possibly want in this world. There's no reason to put yourself through this physical difficulty of pushing yourself and running. And I thought that was very insightful. One of the most insightful things that I heard when I was there, that they really perceive running as just their way out of poverty. They wouldn't do it for any other reason. So that was one big lesson I learned. And then, of course, there's a lot of others. One is that they must train in groups. They don't run by themselves like athletes in the U.S. do. I mean, they view running as a group activity, but it's not for social reasons. They don't talk. It's all business. They're there to do the workout together. They're there to run together because they're on a mission. So they're like a wolf pack chasing after this big goal that they have. They're all trying to get fast enough to attract the attention of a manager who would be willing to take a financial risk on them and connect them to a race in Europe or the US and pay for their travel and their visa and all their other expenses, hoping that the athlete will win the race and then the manager gets 15% of whatever the prize money that the athlete wins. So that's what they're all training for. So they train in groups and they look at that as it has to be done that way. You cannot do this. You cannot be successful training by yourself. They really value the group mentality and how they all lift each other up. They're a very non-individualistic society. Like the US, we're all about celebrating the accomplishments of the individual. In Kenya, it's all about the group mentality. If one Kenyan wins, the entire country wins, and they take that very seriously. And that's something also that's very different than the way we do things here. We celebrate the accomplishments of individuals. We're a very individualistic society, whereas in Kenya, as well as many other countries, they're very much about the group. If one person succeeds, that means the entire group or the entire country succeeds. And that's a very serious way of looking at things over there.
This is a pretty serious town that you relocated to, right? E10. As far as my recollection of it or my understanding of it is that if you're a hopeful runner in Kenya, you make your way to E10 to join a team, to be that hopeful, to get yourself and earn yourself a living from running. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, most people don't realize that, Kenya is a pretty large country. There's about 56 million people there. Most of them don't run. There's only one tribe of Kenyans. There's about 40 tribes. They have a tribal system like the way we have Native Americans in the U.S. have a tribal system. And there's only one of the about 40 tribes that are the distance runners. So they all come from the same ancestry, the same geographic area, and it's all very rural, poor villages, and E10 is the epicenter. So yeah, if they realize that they have some talent, then they make their way to E10, and it's a pretty unique place. It's not like in the US where you have to go outside and go to a specific place to find the runners. In E10, you walk outside your door and there they are. I mean, it's a very small town. There's only a couple of paved roads. Most of the running they do is on red dirt, rocky roads. It's impossible to not see the elite runners there. They're in your face all the time. And so the kids are walking and running back and forth to school, and they see these elite runners running by every single day. And so these kids then aspire to do that, to be that. And so it's a pretty unique, inspiring place if you're a runner, because there's nothing else like it anywhere in the entire world. There's a high school in Etain, St. Patrick's High School. They have graduated more future Olympians and world record holders than any other high school anywhere in the world. So it's a pretty unique environment, and it's very inspiring if you're a runner. And there's nothing else going on in this town. It's farming and running. That's all that people do. I mean, so it could be boring after a while living there if you're an American and you're used to all the entertainment, because there's no entertainment there. But you're 45 minutes away from Eldoret, which is a major city. Nairobi, the capital, is about a 7, 8, 9 hour drive. So that's kind of far. You pretty much have to take a plane to get to Nairobi. But Eldoret, they have It still looks Kenyan, but it's more of a major city. They have a shopping center. They have supermarket. I would take the athletes to that supermarket so they could buy food. And I would give them money from the money I was raising there. I would give them a budget, which they blow through right away. I mean, they have no budgetary skills over there because they're not used to having the money. They don't know what to do with it. But it was surprising to their reaction when I took them to the supermarket because they had never been inside of a real supermarket before. There's just like little fruit stands and vegetable stands on the side of the road in E10, and they live off the land. They don't have refrigerators or freezers to store food, so they eat very little. But what they do eat is very healthy. They're eating just off the land, and so they don't have a lot of variety like we have in the U.S. So it was funny to get them to like buy a chocolate bar. It was crazy because you can't buy chocolate in E10. And so I took them to the shopping center in El Dorado, and they buy a chocolate bar. And so that was pretty humorous for the funny American who was over there. But yeah, it's a very unique environment. I mean, I urge everyone to go. I mean, they hold camps there. There are people from other countries. They'll hold a camp there. And then there's this place called the High Altitude Training Center, which was built by Lorna Kiplagat, who was a pretty well-known Kenyan runner. For the second half of her career, she ran for the Netherlands. She moved to the Netherlands as an adult and ran for the Netherlands. And she was like a past world cross country champion and Olympian. And she built this center there. It's called the High Altitude Training Center. And that's where a lot of the camps are held. And it's a beautiful location. And so a lot of people will come. They'll stay at the high altitude trainings. They have like little dorm style rooms there, and they have a gym there. And so a lot of people will come there from other parts of the world and stay there for a few weeks or a month or two at a time and run with the Kenyans. And they're very welcoming. They love outsiders because outsiders bring money, they bring shoes. And so they love running with outsiders, and they're very welcoming, which you wouldn't expect. You would expect that the Kenyans, like, they're so used to doing their own thing that they would not want outsiders, but they're very welcoming. They want everybody to run with them. When they run slow, everybody in the world, even recreational runners, can run with them. When they run fast, there's very few people who can run with them. But when they run easy, they're fine running at other people's paces, and they don't see it as outsiders imposing on their training. They're very welcoming and open to foreigners coming into E10 and running with them, especially if you've got money, then they really love you.
What an amazing experience that sounds like. And gosh, I hope you're able to find some donors to get yourself back there and continue that process. It sounds like it's rewarding for you and them.
Yeah, I would love it. I mean, people don't realize how much talent, the depth of talent over there is enormous. And so we only hear about the ones who make it, who break out of the poverty and make it to the world stage. But the thousandth best Kenyan runner can beat the 10th best American. There's no problem. That people have no idea the depth over there because they're just living and training in poverty. And I hate to see wasted talent. There's so much talent there that goes to waste because they don't get the opportunities that athletes in Western countries get. So it's unfortunate. So I'd love to help any way I can, but I can't do it all myself. So I really hope someday I can find a sponsor, because I would love to form another group and give these athletes the opportunity that they deserve and that they're working so hard for. I mean, they work so hard. I mean, that was the other thing I valued there, is that hard work is a valued thing over there. It's not like the U.S. We're very lazy. We're technologically advanced. We look for conveniences in all aspects of our lives. And over there, they really value hard physical labor, not just in running, but in everything. Like the town of E10 is littered with all these shops, and they build everything with their hands. There's furniture stores, and you can see the workers there welding and building with their hands. And so they really value hard work there. They don't have everything we have here, all the conveniences we have, and nothing against Americans, but we tend to get lazy. We want conveniences. We want a nice restaurant, 30 feet from where we live. We don't have to want to drive even a half a mile to get to a restaurant. I mean, but over there, it's a very different culture, and they place a lot of value on hard physical labor.
Yeah, I love that perspective, Jason. I think it's a reminder of the things that we take for granted. Like we get to run here. We don't have to for our livelihood, but they do. So I think it's an important reminder to this community and just how lucky we are to have everything in the comforts that we have in our cushy shoes and the ability to go to a running store 2 blocks away and buy a new pair. And most of us have the cash to do so. So thank you for providing that. And that book, again, is on your website, but it sounds like that would be a good read and just a kind of a good humbling reminder for all of us, and a cool experience too. And yeah, like Brian said, I hope you get a chance to get back there.
Thank you. Yeah, I will.
Just
I'm sure I will.
just mentioned in the book and your website. We'll put the website in the show notes so people can click on it. But the website is drjasonkarp.com, if I'm not mistaken, right? Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the books
And
are all on Amazon.
yeah, in the books, gosh, we talked about it before recording, but I thought it was about a dozen, but it's 16 books that you've written, mostly around the space of running and running experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try to, I get asked all the time about the books and how I come up with the idea because I really try to come up with things that haven't been done before. I don't want to just write another book on how to be a better runner. There's a million books like that. And so all my books, whether they're on running or other aspects of the fitness industry, like my last book is called Can You Outrun a Donut? Because the entire fitness industry and the general public think that nutrition is much more important than exercise. I hear these myths all the time, and so I thought, I'm going to take a look at this. And so there's over 340 references in the book. I collected every single study that's ever been done that compares the effects of nutrition and exercise on body weight and health and mortality and performance to answer this very important question: Can you outrun a donut? So I urge people to read that because it's something that's very misunderstood. And now, I mean, this is timely with the new food guide pyramid that's been put out just in the last couple of days. I mean, there's so much attention on food. If we placed the amount of attention that we put on nutrition and food and what people are eating every day, if we took that same vigor and attention and put it on exercise, that would change the face of America. America would be so much healthier. There's so much scientific evidence to show that the effects of exercise can mitigate, if not completely erase, the negative effects of a bad diet. But people think that what goes into your mouth is the most important thing. And not that it's not important. The best case scenario is exercise and good nutrition. But if you had to judge which is more important, exercise, I mean, it's not even a competition. The potency of exercise is so strong. I mean, it changes things right down to the level of your DNA. And the one thing about nutrition is it doesn't make you fitter, and that's what's more important. The research is all over this one. I mean, it's better to be fat and fit than to be thin and unfit. There's been so many studies done on that, just that particular topic. But a lot of people don't get it, and they're fed wrong information, even from the industry itself. And so, yeah, when I see this stuff, I have to shake my head because I don't understand why so much attention on nutrition. I mean, it's crazy. The more you exercise, the more flexibility you have in what you eat. If you don't exercise at all, then yeah, nutrition is everything. Then no chocolate chip cookies allowed. But if you're willing to exercise every day, which is what people should be doing, then you can pretty much eat whatever you want.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I really enjoy that point of view. Again, you've got 16 books out there. You mentioned Amazon. You can find them on Amazon and also on your site. I do want to dabble into your newest creation, though, which is stemmed from your coaching experiences, I'm sure. But it's this new Kasi AI coaching app. Can you kind of give us like the 10,000 foot view of what this all is about, and how would myself as a coach use it, and how would Mandy as an athlete use it, for an example?
Yeah, I got the idea from the online. For many years, I've been coaching runners from a distance, and I've always, runners often do workouts incorrectly, and I find myself saying the same thing after the workout when they send me the data. I find myself repeating myself over and over again, saying the same things about, okay, next time do the workout this way. And so I've always asked myself, I wish I could be at my athletes' workouts when they're doing the workout. So that's what initially gave me the idea for this. And so I thought, well, with today's technology, we can do that. So I came up with the word Kasi from it's Swahili, so the Kenyan influence. It's Swahili for speed or pace, because Kasi or speed is a very controlled variable in Kenya. They understand how to, even without the GPS watches, they're very good at controlling their speed during workouts. And so I called it the business Kasi, and so the app is called RunKasi in the App Store. And so it works two major ways. There's a built-in coach, so the app knows. So it's built for right now for the iPhone, the Apple Watch, and eventually it'll be built for the Android platform and Garmin watches. but the app knows what pace you're supposed to be running for every single different kind of workout. There's a menu of all the different workouts in the app. People choose the workout, and it knows what pace you're supposed to be running for a threshold workout, a VO2 max workout, anaerobic workout. And then the app will coach you based on the pace, based on the heart rate, based on other things like ground contact time. It actually coaches you during the workout in real time because it knows what you're doing, compares it to what you're supposed to be doing, and coaches you in real time. And then if the person has a remote human coach, then that coach from anywhere in the world can meet the athlete for the workout just as if they were in person. They're sitting behind the coach's dashboard, which is on the website, and they can see the workout take place. There's a little diagram of a track and a little icon of a runner running around the track in real time as the runner is running on the track in real time, or if they're on the road, same thing. They see the runner running at the pace, and all the data is sent to the coach in real time so they can see it on the coach dashboard and then talk to the runner in his or her ear through their Bluetooth earphones, just as if they were standing at the track or on the side of the road with the runner in real time coaching the runner. So I'm really excited about this and looking for investors now for it and trying to get traction on the first version of this in the App Store. And so I'm excited for what this can do because it will change how remote coaching is done. And all these runners who do workouts by themselves, now they can have a coach with them in their ear in real time.
Jason, so as a coach, I'm coaching Mandy. She goes to her bike path and her rails to trail now, and gets out there on the pavement. She's doing her 3 by 10 minute tempo run workout, and I'm able to coach in her ear. Am I seeing her metrics as well in real time? Her ground contact time, her speed, her
Yeah.
pace,
So
and her
yeah, you'll see
elevation,
her
and all those
pace, you'll
things?
see her heart rate. Yeah, you'll see the pace, you'll see the heart rate. If she's on a track, you'll see the time for each lap of the track. So you know if she's
Hmm.
running each lap at the time she's supposed to be running. So yeah, you would see everything just as if you were in person with her doing the workout. And then you can talk to her. She can talk to you. Yeah, and you
Oh,
can
wow.
talk to her through her earphones.
Maybe she
Wait,
doesn't want to talk to me, though, during that
I,
workout.
I can talk to him. This is getting interesting. Brian doesn't want to know the things I say about him during some of my workouts. Just joking.
On the AI side
Intention
of things,
behind this was for
yeah, go ahead.
the whole intention behind this was for the watch to be the coach, whether the watch is the
Hmm.
coach on its own or the watch is the coach through the human coach who's coaching from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
So if Mandy has her watch on, or she could be carrying the phone if she wants, but it's easier to do it from the watch. So she's running with the watch, has the app open on the watch, and the data is immediately transmitted to the coach's dashboard wherever in the world that coach is, and you can see it live.
So is it meant to be two-way communication though? Like I just want to make sure like I could actually talk to Brian and say ask a question or something like are you able to communicate live back and forth
Yeah,
during this workout?
you, you can. Yeah, the only
Hmm.
caveat to that, or the only stipulation to that, is that with the way the watch works, you would have to have cellular connectivity. Like with the Apple Watch, you have to have the cellular connectivity on the watch to be able to communicate for you, to the athlete, to communicate back to the coach.
Okay.
But yeah, the coach can talk to you through your earphones, and if you're holding the phone, and then of course you can communicate because all the
Mm-hmm.
phones have the cellular connectivity. But if you're just using the watch has to be set up to have the connectivity so that you can communicate.
And the app without the live coaching feature or the in-person coaching feature with the AI coach is also talking to you through this process.
Yeah, it's all audio, so that
Okay, it's audio. Yeah.
even though runners like to look at their watch, they don't have to because all the data can be communicated through the ear. So as long as you have the Bluetooth earphones, then yeah, it's an audio app. So yeah, it will talk to you. So theoretically, you don't have to even look at the watch or the phone, but runners
Mm-hmm.
like to do that anyway.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I reached
Yeah.
out to you a few weeks ago about it when it broke ground and you kind of released it in its early release days, and I've been kind of keeping an eye on it ever since. It was really fascinating. That's how we got to this conversation where I wanted to have you on the show and talk about this. this new app and just kind of its creation and its function. AI is playing a big role in everything in this day and age, and some of it good, some of it not so
Yeah.
good. But in this coaching feature, it's interesting. It's an interesting space. It's an interesting way to use the AI in a beneficial way. Obviously, not in a detrimental way like some other AI
Right.
features, I guess. Where do you see? You said this is like the first iteration of it. Where do you see like version 2 and version 3 going? Like how do you envision it evolving?
Yeah. So, well, once we have investors, then the next goal is to build this for the Android platform, the Android phones, and then for Garmin. We started with the Apple platform first because it's much easier to place an app right directly on the
Mm-hmm.
Apple Watch. There's only one Apple Watch that has different versions, but Garmin has their entire suite of different Garmin watches, so it
Mm-hmm.
requires different coding, and so that's why we started with Apple first. But eventually, we'll put this on the Garmin watches, and yeah, my goal with this is to really change the way coaching is done and the way people train, because most people, they follow a static training plan, and the way online run coaching is done now, it's rather passive, and I put myself in that same situation that you write the training plan, you give it to the athlete carries out the workouts, they send you the data afterward, and then you provide feedback after the fact. But
Mm-hmm.
the way coaching should be done is it's teaching. You got to teach. And the best time to teach is in the moment. Just like teachers in a classroom, they teach you how to do the homework problems in class, and then you go home and you practice the homework on your own. And so, I'm excited about this because, it really gets to what coaching is all about, and can really help runners, but it can also help coaches because now they get the opportunity to coach in real time, teaching their athletes how to do the workouts a certain way to get a certain result. Because most runners, left on their own, they often don't do the workouts correctly because they don't deeply understand what it is that they're trying to accomplish with the workout. And so, it didn't take me long to notice this, but it was many years it took me to finally get to do something about it, because I too had been coaching passively by just giving advice after the fact. And, so I wanted to be able to be in person with the runners I coach. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about where this can go. I mean, eventually the business, could be sold to Apple or Nike or some other major company that can integrate this into what they do. But for now, I'm excited about just going the next step of the business and trying to get as much traction as I can. That's why it's offered for free now in the App Store. There's 6-month and 12-month subscriptions, but for now, those subscriptions are for free for the term of the subscription. And I'm excited for the next step of this, and then getting it on the Garmin platform and the Android phones, and just moving forward with this.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. This is probably a question for both of you, but to me, this feels like a learning opportunity, not just for athletes to have a better coaching experience during the workout, but it feels like an opportunity for coaches to learn and be held accountable for their coaching abilities more real time, right? Like I can be feeling something, going through something in the middle of my run, but after the workout's over, and maybe it's a week or two or a month later when I talk to Brian about that workout, what was going on there mentally, physically might be lost in translation, and we forget things over time. So I'm kind of curious how this can change the space of that real-time learning for both the coach and the athlete. And I see it as a place for coaches that are doing this to learn a little bit more about how their workouts actually are going for their athletes. Like, was this a good one? Was this a bad one? Did we get the results, in the workout that we were looking for? So I think it's a cool opportunity for everybody.
I'll speak
Yeah,
just a
I
slight
agree.
bit to it.
Yeah.
I'll try to answer that as best as I can. The idea that currently I coach full time. I'm not sure if Jason's aware of that, but I coach full time online as a business. I actually coach Mandy, so that's a real thing. I plug in workouts on an app called Training Peaks. They get loaded to her watch. She goes out and performs it. I should be getting data that evening about the run, how it went, as like a comment or a text like, hey, it was good, bad, or indifferent, or I got this ping in my leg, or any niggles, whatever, just pertinent information about the workout itself. But you're absolutely right, Jason. It's after the fact, and I'm saying, and you're also absolutely right. I always say, next time, let's try this. Next time, let's try this, right? And so there's no coachable moment in the moment, right? It's always after the fact. And of course, we might not do that workout for another week or maybe 3 weeks later. And of course, we've kind of lost the importance of it or what we missed from it initially, right? So it is this kind of passive coaching process. So, do you have any additional thoughts to that, Jason?
Yeah, and that was really the whole impetus behind this. The live human coach was the whole reason I came up with this, just my own experience. But then, of course, the AI piece, now that's the direction that the industry is moving, and every industry is moving. And so I think that's an important piece too, because a lot of runners don't have a coach. But yeah, what originally gave me the idea for this was my inability to be present at the time that the athletes are doing their interval workouts or tempo runs, and so I that was the lowest hanging fruit, so to speak. That was the value that I thought I could bring to this, is give a way for coaches to actually be there while their runners are doing the workouts.
Yeah, and I think to Mandy's question, as far as like having the ability to coach in real time, does make it seem, a little more personalized as well. I coached high school cross country and high school track and field
Of course.
already locally at the high school level. So I do have this real time feel where I'm able to put the kids on the track and I get them running in the circles and I'm yelling at each one of them, hey, pick up your knee, drive the knee, swing the arms. It's time to go now. Giving them all the critical feedback in the moment where I'm not able to do that with my online athletes. And so it does kind of fill that piece, definitely, Mandy.
Yeah, and what does this change for how much time you're spending with your athletes? What does this change for the value and now what your services, I don't want to say cost, but are valued at in the industry? Have you thought a lot about that, Jason?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because this also is it's a B2C model business, but it's also B2B, because now coaches have a way to make more money, because now obviously if they're going to meet their runners for workouts, they're going to charge them for that. So Brian may start charging you, Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more.
So this is a way
Wow.
for coaches to also increase their business, not only improve the skills of coaching and be there in real time, but of course, now this is another model of income. It's another revenue stream for coaches, because they can charge their runners to, just as if they would in person. They meet them at the track or at a trailhead or someplace. It's the same concept. Just like personal trainers, they meet their clients for workouts.
Mm-hmm.
There's a per hour fee. It's the same thing for coaches. This gives them an opportunity to really build their business, because now they're in person with their athletes. So everybody wins with this. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for all parties involved.
Yeah, I could definitely see it being like an upper tier of my personal coaching practice. If you're looking for that level, it's going to cost a little bit more because it's a little more time commitment. I'm going to have to jump on the computer when you're going to run your run, Mandy, at 6 a.m. sometimes, because we are busy and we have lives. And so your runs, I know, Mandy, are usually pretty early in the morning. So I'm going to have to jump on the computer and watch
Right.
the dot run around the little track and give you feedback on what you're doing right and what you
Yeah.
could work on to be a little quicker.
Yeah. And I think there's a cool opportunity, even just like the free trial. Like I'm thinking through how do you market this so that people aren't naysaying it? How do you get people to realize the difference between, just as we've had to show the difference between following a static plan that you just Google and print offline versus hiring a coach. Now this takes it to the next level. How do you prove the value between hiring Brian, who is retroactively commenting and being involved in my workout versus that real time? And so I think, imagine this cool place where a coach like Brian is like, hey, I've got all these suites under my service of different levels of coaching. We do have this AI component where I can be with you live on your workouts. I'll give it to you for free for 2 weeks, and then after that, here's what it would cost. So I think you have to get people to
Mm-hmm.
experience it. It's so new and different that it would be working out the kinks, but you'd have to show people the difference.
Right.
Yeah, might be a game
And I
changer for
mean,
some, and others might leave it.
yeah, I could actually, I could see it being obviously for like critical workouts of your recovery run. I could probably, we could probably act passively on it just to make sure you're running the right zone and those sorts of things. Maybe your long run on the weekend. Obviously I can't sit on the computer for 3-4 hours and coach you through every step of the 3 to 4 hour run that you're doing on the long weekend, but on your long run for the weekend. But I think it's critical ones, intervals, tempo runs, critical workouts that are we're looking for the adaptation from it. And so I think that's where the key place could come in. You agree with that, Jason?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that's what it intends to do.
Well, gosh, that sounds so great. What was the name of the site again? RunKasi.com?
Yeah, runkasi.com, KSI.
KASI. Okay, we'll put that in the show notes, and it's drjasonkarp.com as well. Check out his site. Check out all the books. They're also available on Amazon. And gosh, we appreciate your time. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's next and what's store for you. In the few short years that I've been following you, you're always evolving in a great way, and I appreciate that in the space. I appreciate people continuing to grow and
Thank you.
change and manipulate what the next thing is, and I appreciate that in you, Jason.
Thank you. I pride myself on that. I don't like doing things the way other people do them, and sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. But I like to challenge the status quo, and I like to do things differently than others in the industry. I don't want to just do the same thing that's been done a million times before. And so I'm always looking for different things to do and innovate.
Yeah, we appreciate that. I just started following you on Instagram. So for our listeners, it's Dr.
Oh,
Jason
good.
Karp. It looks like a fun one to scroll through. I'm seeing a mixture of awesome pictures, experiences, books. Yeah, so excited to follow along and see.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the follow.
We'll catch up with you soon, Jason. Take care. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. My pleasure.